Okay, so we'll start it from scratch. Okay, so what is the Apex? Apex is basically, it is a object oriented and case sensitive in programming language. One is strongly typed, and then second one is it is a object oriented, and next one is case insensitive. Case insensitive programming language. So what type of programming language? We keep on saying it programming language. It is a object-oriented programming language, case-insensitive programming language, strongly typed programming language. So what type of a programming language it is? It is OOPS type of programming language, which is an object-oriented programming language like a C or like a Java or like a .NET or whatever we have. C, C++, Java, .NET, these all are object-oriented programming language. So similar like Apex also object-oriented programming language. Apex also object-oriented programming language. What is the language used for? We use this language to add a business logic to the Salesforce. And where did this implemented? It is on force.com. It is on force.com. Now coming to the why Apex. There are a couple of things why we need a Apex. First one is integrated. First one is integrated. Okay. So integrated is nothing but Salesforce offers Apex as a integrated. What is the integrated? Integrated means no need to install. No need to install. I need not to install the Apex. It comes along with the integrated platform. No installation is not required. Nothing is required. So the whole ID environment is integrated. The entire ID is environment integrated. Okay. And the next one is Apex is easy to use. Why it is easy to use? Because if you are in your previous experience, if you are exposed to any other programming language, probably you are worked on C, C++, Java, Python, or .NET, whatever it might be. So in case if you are exposed to object-oriented programming language, or at least you know programming language, at least you know the programming language, then you will be able to crack the Apex. Next one is data focused. Data focused. So Apex is mostly on data focused. What I mean data focused. All the data, how to manipulate the data and how to process the data, how to play with the data, like getting the data. Okay. Based on the data, manipulating the business logic. manipulating business logic based on the data, or creating the data, or deleting the data. Basically, how to play with the data. So data focused. If you are writing either a program or something you are writing in the Apex, means you are dealing with the data that is exist in the Salesforce. And next one is, it is a hosted. Apex is a hosted. Apex is a hosted. You do not require any installation. If you work on a C++, you require a turbo C. If you are working on .NET, then first you have to install the .NET. But here, you need not to install anything. It is automatically hosted. You can just go to the setup, right, in your Salesforce, go to the setup. You can type or search for a Apex directly on the Salesforce, or else you can directly open the developer console. Developer console. You can directly open the developer console. Now, fifth one, it is multi-tenant aware. What is multi-tenant aware? Multi-tenant is nothing but multiple projects can be built on one platform. I can build as many as projects on the one platform. Whereas if you take the other languages, if you have to implement multiple projects, then you might have to go with a different way. Now we can implement all different projects in one platform. It is possible. And next most important is easy to test. Whatever we write the logic in Salesforce, it is easy to test. We need not to install any testing tool like Selenium, Mercury, or Load Runner. We need not to install any of this. With the knowledge of the programming, we can easily test our programming. Right? And the next one is versioning. It is versioning. What is the versioning means? Versioning means it is a version controller. Whenever we create it's not only Apex, even with the Visualforce pages also, it is a versioning. So whenever we create a Apex class, there is definitely a version linked to the Apex class. Okay, so tomorrow if Salesforce is upgraded the version, then automatically we have some option where we can just click on the pick list, and which are the version we want, we can update that version to the Apex class. So we need not to do anything there. Eighth one, the last one is, which is automatically upgradable. Automatically upgradable. So we have a releases. 3 releases are there: summer, spring, winter. Right? So these 3 releases are automatically upgraded at the backend. We will not be a developer, we will not be knowing it when it happened. So our system is auto upgraded. The Salesforce org is automatically upgraded. And how much time it takes for the upgradation? Just for a max of 5 seconds. So we will not even know when it got upgraded. So automatically upgradable, Salesforce takes care of upgrading all the Salesforce org. So this automatically upgradable, I think probably I have not seen in other languages like SAP or .NET or C, because if I'm using the .NET 3.5 or some version, tomorrow the latest version comes up, then I have to take a license. I have to purchase a license of the latest version. Then I have to install that in my system. Okay, if it is not in a license also, if there is a latest version, then I have to install that latest version app into the system, and then I have to upgrade that, which I need to also cross verify whether the latest version is compatible for my system or not. Whether it is compatible for my system or not. So these are the one why we think Apex is good to go with any other compared to other programming language. This is good to go with this because the reason, if you see, easy to use. There are a couple of things which I wanted to highlight. One is easy to use, and then another one is easy to test for the developers. Okay, when we say easy to use, then it is going to be the, if you know any programming, whether it is a small C or small minimum knowledge, if you have a programming, you know how to deal with the data, kind of a capturing the data and based on the data manipulating it, some kind of a basic business logic. If you know, we can go with the Apex. Okay, there are some things are there, collections are there, but do not worry about the collections, because collections also, it's similar, like if you understand clearly the collections and the basic structure of the Apex, then it is very easy for anybody to write a Apex programming. Anybody to write a Apex programming, it is very easy. Now what we need, okay, we know what is Apex, we know what is why Apex, and what are the things we need it, we know. Okay, and what we need in order to I start writing the programming language, what are things that I need to understand first in the Apex. First one. So those are basically called as a Apex language construct. Apex language constructs. Apex language constructs. Now here, what are the things that we have to know? First one, the data type. Data types. What are the different data types we have? We need to know that. And next, variable. What is a variable? How can I use this variable while implementing the program? Third one, expression. How to write expressions when I'm writing the program. If it is a if condition, how to write my expression. If it is a normal, how to write expression. Then assignment statement. Assignment statement. How to do the assignment. And fifth one is conditional statement. Conditional statement. Conditional statement is nothing but if else. Conditional statement is if else. How to write the if else conditions. Is it similar to the any other programming language? Next one is the loops. Loops. Loop is basically iteration. So going through the each record. Going through the each record. How do I do it using the when I'm writing the program? If I have a 10 records, how do I need to loop through the each record inside while writing the Apex coding? And the seventh one is queries. Queries. Queries is nothing but in Salesforce, we write a queries of SOCL and SOCL. How to use the SOCL, how to use the SOCL while writing the programming. What are those? And next, locking statements. Locking statements. What are these locking statements? Where do we use it? And next, transaction controller. What are the different transaction controllers are there? Next, exception statement or try catch or any other exception statements. And the next one, last one is DML, data manipulation language. Data manipulation language. So how do we deal with DMLs? How do I update? How many records can I update? What are the limits on this updating the DMLs? So these all we have to know in order to write a program, right? So if we are perfect in these 11 subjects, we can write any program. How much big is the program? We can write it. Basic in the Apex is we need to understand.
Large join or
Basic thing is that we need to understand how to use these 11 points, where I need to use it. Okay, where I need to use it, how to use it, what is the output I'll get it if I use this. So if I am perfect on these 11 topics, I can write whatever the program, how much big scenario is there, I can write it. No worry about the business scenario if I'm perfecting this. Now coming to the data types. Now we'll go by one to understand what are these each. Okay. So first, data types. What is the data types? What are the data types? Any
number, text,
number, text, yes.
currency, email, phone.
So,
Primitive data type with
floating point, decimal.
yes, yes.
Text area or long text area, rich text area.
Right.
And
So whenever we create a, while creating the field, if we go to the object manager, while creating the field, for example, let's go to the account. Whenever we create a, click on a new. What is the first screen that gives us? We choose the data type, which is a field type. Now these are the different data types, but what are these data types? These are the S object data type. Okay, not a standard. I'm not talking about standard object. S object is nothing but any object. Any object. If I go to the custom object also, if I create it, first screen will be the data type. So that is one of the data type is S object data type. One of the data type is S object. S object data type. Next, in case if I'm not using any Salesforce object, okay, like I have a simple calculation of finding the greater smaller number. The business logic is there to identify the greater number and smaller number based on the input that is given on the UI. So for that, I do not need to touch my S object data type. There I have to declare A equal to 5, B equal to C or something. Integer, like what I have to do if I have the business logic to identify the greater number, then I have to declare integer a equal to or some 5, integer b equal to 8, or if it is a decimal, then I have to declare it as a decimal c equal to 8. So what are these called? These all are primitive data type. I'm not calling it from the S object. I'm not calling it from the S object. So int a equal to 5, int b equal to 8 decimal, these all are the S object. So second data type is primitive data type. We use sometimes primitive data type. Where do we use a primitive data type? If you have that question, let's assume that in real time, how do we use it? Okay, in real time, for example, you need specific information in entire your business, in entire OPEX logic. Okay, in entire OPEX logic, you need that variable value. So starting up the OPEX class, what we do, we declare a public integer a equal to, let's take a boolean. Okay, boolean flag equal to true. Boolean flag equal to true. So for example, this is my Apex class. Okay, this is my Apex class. So we have some 100 lines of code is there. Okay, let's assume that 100 lines of code is there. Now at the back end, what is happening is this 100 lines of code is keep on executing. What I mean by keep on executing is first it will execute at the 1 to 100. Okay, again once it is completed, it went back and start executing again. So like that, it went on to the loop. Like this, it went on to the loop. So it is never coming out of this Apex class because of some other issue. Okay, there is a reason for which happens in the real time. So because of some other issue, it is keep on looping here. So what I can do is, for the time being, what I can do is I can use one Boolean value. Okay, Boolean value at the starting of the Apex class, which I'll declare it as a Apex continue. This is the variable Apex continue equal to true. Apex continue is the variable name equal to true. So once it is done, then what I'll do, once it is done with my logic, I'll set it to false. Once I'm done with my logic, I'll set it to false. Now here we'll have some if condition. Okay, when it is the logic is true, then only go ahead and execute the each one of them. I'll say inside the logic, I'll tell my logic, whatever the logic is that the business logic. Execute this logic only when this particular primitive data type value is true. If it is a false, do not execute it. In case if it is a false, check starting of this condition. In case if it is a false, do not execute. So this is one scenario in the real time we use the primitive data type. Okay. And next data type is, sometimes what happens is, I'm going to collect the record information. Let's suppose I'm collecting the account records. How many records I have? Probably 1,000 records I have. Okay. Now I'm querying this. I'm retrieving the data of account 1,000. So getting the records, which are 1,000 records, I'm getting it. Okay. So this is in one method. One method is nothing but method is, let me give another direction. Okay, this is the Apex class. Okay, so inside this Apex class, I have a different blocks. Assume that different blocks. There are 4 blocks are there. Okay, this is the method 1. We call it as a methods, these blocks in the real time or in the programmatically. This is method 2. And this is method 3. And this is method 4. Okay. Now method 1 is getting the records, getting all the records of account. Okay.
All the records of account.
Getting the records of account. Then by getting this, doing some logic here, some business logic, it is doing it. Based on the account, it is doing some logic here. Okay. Now, once this logic is done, then it will come to the method 2. In the method 2 also, I need to get account records. I need to get account records. In method 3 also, there is a, after doing some business logic, I need to get the account records. Now that means I have to write a logic to get account here. I have to write a logic to get account here. I have to write a logic to get account here. If method 4 is also needed, I need to write a logic here. Okay. And after getting the account, like based on some values, we are doing the logic, right? But instead of doing all this, instead of doing the multiple times, 2 ways I can do. What I can do is I can take out this piece from here, put it at the Apex class. Okay. But that is what I'm doing. I'm directly getting it from the database. I'm directly getting it from the database. I'm not doing here. Directly getting it from the database to the Apex class. But assume that after getting the data from the database, we are doing some logic here. After the logic is done, then only those records I need to pass it to the method 2, method 3, method 4. Okay. So in those scenarios, it is difficult to handle, and there is a limits also here, because every time querying the socle is also limit. Every time querying the socle means Salesforce object query language. So querying in the multiple places. So my whole concept is querying in multiple places is not a good idea. In those scenarios, what we will do is, we take those records and we will put it into the container. We will put it into the container. So that means I have here one container, and this is from the some query. This is a container, and this is directly querying it. Assume that this is a socle query. This container could be a list or map or set. Any container. The name of the container could be a list, could be a map, could be a set. So what I'll do, I'll gather the information from the socle. I'll get everything, the data here. Then I'll push all the data here. I'll tell this container, store my data here. Why? Whenever it is required in entire this Apex class, whenever it needed, it will go and get it from the container. It will go and get it from the container. Instead of querying again, what I'll do is first time I'll query it and I'll put that everything into the container. And in entire logic, wherever it is needed, I'll just directly get it from this container instead of going into the database here. instead of going into the database and collecting the information, I'll have a placeholder which is called as a container. So from that placeholder, I'll use this records. So third data type is collection data type. Collection data type. And the last one is rarely used is enumeration. Enumeration data type. Enumeration data type. So how many data types are there? 4 data types. S-object data type, primitive data type, collection data type, enumerous data type. So a data can classified as a primitive or S-object or collection or enumeration.
I have a question. So the primitive data type are similar to the S object, but they are not related to any object in Salesforce, right?
Yeah, they are not related to the S-object.
Okay, thank you.
So primitive data type is nothing but it's a traditional data type. Let's see one by one. Primitive data type is nothing but a traditional data type which used across all the programming. All the programming language. All the programming language is called primitive data type. So for example, string a equal to some Scracth, integer a equal to 5, decimal or date time, long or time. So these all are primitive data type which we declare it directly by using these keywords. So which are the programming language you go? You go to C, or there is also different languages, right? So whatever the programming language we go, there also we have an integer, string everywhere. Basically, primitive data type is used everywhere in the all programming languages. All programming languages. So not only here, everywhere we use it. Now we know the primitive data type right now. Now how to write this primitive data type in Salesforce Apex? How to write this? How to do this Apex coding? So let's go ahead and see that. So let's open the developer console. Okay, so far we have gone through the Visualforce pages. Now from today onwards, we will be doing the Apex. So for Apex, ideal scenario is for clicking on File, New, create a Apex class. Okay, but right now we are not writing any business logic. We are not writing any business logic. I'm not going to write a program. I just wanted to test some code. I wanted to test some code. So in order to test a code, I need not to go to the Apex class. Where do I need to go? Click on a debug. click on a debug. Here we have a open execute anonymous window. Open execute anonymous window, which will open up the one window. So you will see like this. So in other way, if I have to say, this is kind of a playground. This execute anonymous window is kind of a playground. We can practice our own code here without saving into the Salesforce. I can write anything and I can test it and I can practice my code here. Or I can debug the code here. So before writing the main business Apex logic, if I wanted to try some piece of a code, how it is working, we can try in this executive debug, open executive anonymous window, we can try it. It's similar like a playground. So right now we are talking about the primitive data type. So how to declare a primitive data type? So primitive data type, first I have to use the data type as, let's say, integer A, or I'll say string name, or boolean st. Right? So, and let's go ahead and execute it. What is happening? Let's see. So highlight this code, execute the highlighted one. So as soon as I executed the highlighted one, what happened? A, name, st. Values are null. What we are doing is we are declaring it. But what are we declaring here? That means I'm creating the container for each one of them. As soon as I say integer A, that means at the back end in the database, there is a space occupied for this A. There is a box or there is a container created for A. Because while writing this code, somewhere if I say A equal to 3, then what it will do? It will put 3 in that container. So as soon as I declare a string name, that means in the database, there is a memory allocated for this. There is a container created for this name. So container name is name, or the box name is name. Now, if I assign anything to this, then the name, whatever the name is there, it will go and sit into that particular container. Now let's say name equal to David. So let's execute the highlighted one. Now what happened? A container is created, but that container is empty. There is no value there. Now name container is created, but inside that container, I have some value which is called as a David. Now st is created. This container is created or memory is allocated for this, but there is no value in that particular box. Now, if I say debug, open execute anonymous, if I say A equal to 33 or st equal to true, Now what happened? The memory is allocated for this and assignment is happening here. What assignment is happening? 33 is assigning to the A. David is assigning to the string name. True value is assigned to the Boolean variable st. Variable assignment is happening here. Highlight this, execute the highlighted one. Now here is the one. So there is a variable assignment is happening. Variable assignment, that means A is created at the backend. There is a memory is allocated for this A, and in that container we are storing the 33. That means A variable in future, wherever I refer the variable A. So when I get value of variable A is nothing but it is going to give us the 33. Now here name, there is a space is allocated for the name in backend memory. So inside the name, the David is going to store. That means I'm assigning the David value to the variable called name. I'm assigning the value to the variable. What is the variable? Name is the variable. Similar, like we have a one more variable which is called as a boolean st. So as soon as I say boolean st, there is a memory allocated for the st, and what are the value we have here? We have a value true. So true will be storing into that space. That means I am assigning the true to the variable st. So this is a variable assignment.
Even if it's a null, there will be memory allocated to it.
Yes, at the backend it will be allocated.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if I say st equal to true and let me give another value is decimal. Now I'm assigning the decimal temp. I'm assigning the value. Value is 37.45. So I'm assigning this value to the variable called temp. Variable called temp. Now by using this, okay, this is a declaration, but how do I use this in the program? How do I use this in the program? So basically program is, let's say there is a business logic, write a program to calculate area. For calculation area, what we do, we just needed two integer variables. We call these as a variable. Variable A, variable name, variable st, variable temp. So we call them as a variable. Right now I needed two variables. So integer, let's go ahead and declare it. Length or let's say integer A, and next one is integer B, and I need one output to store it. So let's say integer result. Okay, so result equal to A multiplied by B. And every end of the statement, this semicolon is mandatory. Every end of the statement, this is mandatory. For the variable assignment, for the declaration, assignment, queries, so the semicolon is mandatory. In case if you do not write this, and if you try to execute the highlighted one, it is going to throw an error saying that there is an unexpected token. Okay, so line number 14. 14 is this one. So this is mandatory. Now what is happening if I try to execute this? Null pointer exception. Why null pointer exception? Because we are not assigning any value to these variables. We are not assigning to the any variables. I just declared it. I just declared. That means what is the value will be there here? It's a null, not even zero. Null value will be there. Null multiplied by null, I'll not get anything. So which is a null pointer exception, which is a null pointer exception because I do not have any values that are assigned here. So which is a null pointer exception. Now let's go ahead and give some name number here. Let's assign it. I'm assigning the 50 to the variable A. I'm assigning the 75 to the variable B. R I do not need because R, this is just for the storing purpose. Now, where will I assign the R? After the multiplication, after the logic is executed, then final value will be stored into the R. Now, I'm not even saving it. If you observe this, I'm writing the code and executing it. I'm not even saving the logic. So we do not need to save it. This is just a playground, okay? So we need not to save any code here. Just highlight this and click on the execute. Now what is happening when I click on the execute? So here the variable assignment, first one it happened, A equal to 50, right? So in my A box, there is a 50 is stored. And then we have a B. B is a variable. I'm assigning the 75 value to the variable B. Assigning the 75 value to the variable B. That means at the back end in the memory, whenever I say A, it will be get the A. Okay. So right now what we are doing, A equal to 50, B equal to 75. Okay. As soon as I say integer B equal to 75, integer A equal to 50. So what will happen now? As soon as I say this, it will go into the, this is my database. Okay. So inside this database, there will be a space allocated for, there will be a space allocated for A and B. So this is the, here it is A. So what is the value is stored? First it will be allocated the space and this is a B. Now as soon as say assignment, as soon as I'm done with the variable assignment, what will happen? It will directly go to this A and it will say, okay, you got a 50 here. So store the 50. So it will say, okay, I have the value 50. Now it will come to the assignment B, assigning the variable assignment B equal to 75. Then it will go and sit here 75. Okay, 75 will be there. Now, next time, when whoever is calling the A, so this is one container for A, this is another container for B. Now, whoever is calling, for example, I have a logic which is written in the Apex class. Okay, whoever is within this Apex class, initially we declared the integer A equal to 50 and integer B equal to 75. We declared this logic inside the Apex class. Now somewhere here at the bottom, somebody is calling A. Somebody is calling A. Get the value of A. So there is a logic is return get the value of A. Get the value of A. Whenever the logic is says, okay, get the value of A. So what it will do, it will simply go to the database. In the database, it will ask the database, it will try to find where is the my container. So it will see this is a container which is there in the database. Now what it will do in return, it will send back the value to the here saying that, okay, here is the 5 value that I got it from the database. So that's how it will happen. So B is 75, A is 50. Now our logic is Now our logic is, what is our logic? Right now our logic is here. We have a logic A multiplication of B. This is our logic. So what it will do first time, it will go and get the A value. What is the A value? It will get it 50. Okay, now it will go to the database and it will get what is the value of B. So the B value is 75. Then it will do the logic and it will execute, and the output will be the 3750. Now where it is assigning the 3750, it is assigning to the variable called R, because we are giving the R equal to A star B. Now in case if I wanted to print this in the debug log. So whenever we are looking at the debug here, okay, debug is which is very important. So whenever we are looking at the debug, these are normal execution flow. Okay, but out of this execution, I am just interested to get the debug values, because in my code or in my logic I kept the debug. Only that part I am interested to see. So just click on this debug only. What will happen? It will show only the debugged values. It will not show all this. This is the execution flow. From the beginning till end, what has had happened during the execution of that particular logic. So everything it will show in the log. But in case if I wanted to see only the debug values, check this. So for now, I'm going to put a debug here. Debug in a sense in the Salesforce is a printing the value. Debug is nothing but printing the value in Salesforce Apex. I'm not talking about the LWC Lightning Aura. I'm talking about the Apex. In the Apex, debug is nothing but printing the value. How to print my value? R system.debug. System.debug, which is R. So now let me go ahead, highlight this, execute it, execute the highlighted. So now if I click on debug only, it will show my debug 3750. So our value is 3750. Any questions? Any questions, Srini? Okay, anybody has questions so far whatever we have discussed about the Apex primitive data type?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam,
So-
I have a question. Like
Yeah.
this null pointer exception is nothing but, is it we consider 0 or completely empty or what?
Empty, null.
Means we equal to 0 also. 0 is also, we feel that nothing but it consider some value.
Did we declare 0 here anywhere when the null pointer exception came? Yes, tell me, what is this?
This is null pointer exception.
Okay, why are we getting that?
Okay. That means 0 is also value. So that means it's completely blank.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody has any other question?
Change it. It's not safe. బూస్టర్ తీసుకోలేదు జిమ్ లో అసలు అందరూ ఇస్తారు మీ ఇష్టం బూస్టర్ అనుకున్నాను
Can you guys go on mute?
నేను
I feel
రాగానే
that
మొత్తం
somebody has a questions.
reaction చేస్తుంది
సరే
కోసం ఏం చెప్పట్లేదు ఆమె కోసమే చెప్తున్నా అడిగాక
Okay, so that is clear for everybody, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a second.
Madam, can you show one more time how to choose Apex class from the developer console?
Yeah.
Beginning.
So anonymous window, right? You mean to say?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
for the anonymous window, just click on the debug, click on
Ah.
open executive anonymous window, where we can write our own code. This is just a playground. It does not save into the system.
But I am also doing, ma'am. But when I went for debug option, this open execute anonymous window is not highlighted, ma'am. It's like disabled.
Sorry.
In debug option, if I click, there should be option showing, but when I click there, it's not displaying, ma'am. It's not taking that option.
Maybe you need to
That
restart
option
your
is
system.
disabled.
Option is disabled. This option is disabled.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
There is nothing like a disable will be there.
No, no, no. The option is visible, ma'am. But when I click there, it's not showing in bold color.
Okay, this box is this model pop-up is not coming up.
Not coming.
Okay, probably you have to restart your system or restart the Salesforce. There is a issue with either laptop or some performance issue.
Is there any restriction in a profile level or user level after authorization of text?
I have not seen anything which is related to access for this.
For that solution, that question.
For which one you are talking about? Open executive anonymous window?
Yes, yes.
I have not seen anything which has a permission or something. Because this is completely different than your Salesforce. So your Salesforce is inside that. Here it is Apex debug, Apex CSI pages. But at least I don't know. I have
In
not seen
profile level, we
anything.
have an option like authorization of text. But whenever you give the restriction, so you can't go to force that.
Where you have seen the options. In the user details. Are you talking about this one, development mode? This development mode is for the Visualforce pages.
Go on. Go on. One more option is there, ma'am. Authorization Apex. Let quick find.
Sure, where you have seen profile level or user level, where did you see that?
Profile level.
Are you talking about this enable Apex classes?
No. Quick find. Go to quick find and type an Apex. Yeah. This one author Apex.
Let's edit. Even I Those are not editable. You cannot edit.
Okay. You are the system administration, so you don't have that permission. If in case users is there now in your account, so at the time if you want to restrict to them, then you, I'm thinking
Not sure. Try it and let me know in case if that is the option.
okay, sure.
Okay. Fine. Any other questions before I move on?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So let's go to the interview questions. What is Apex? Why do we use? Why do we use Apex? What are the different type of Apex language constructs? What are the different type of data types? What is primitive data type? Example of primitive data type. Or example, or how to declare primitive data type. Write a program to calculate height and width write a program to calculate simple interest What is a simple interest calculation?
PNR by 100.
These are the one, that's what we covered today. Right, okay. So let's move on to the advanced admin.